Hi everybody, and don't panic. Today is Towel Day. And as our tradition has it, Too Sexy always releases an awesome new feature on Towel Day. So on Towel Day, by the way, we're remembering Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And if you want to know more, just Google it. It's always May 25th. So today what I have for you is a brand new, very easy way to create custom input fields. So that means I'm going to show you how they work, how you can create your own, and of course, how you can transfer them from one app to another if you've created some, if you want to share them, etc. So let's just get started. What you see here is a demo. You'll find about how to get here in the links, but it's basically on the DNN tutorials on toosexy.org. And here's a simple example of a color picker. This is an input field which is not included in Too Sexy, but maybe you just need one. So you can see now I have a field here which looks very different from any of the ones you've seen before. And if I go here, I can just use it to pick colors and save that. So this is something that has never been possible before. And it is now in your hands to create whatever you want. So let me explain how this works. I'm going to quickly go back to, I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back to the very basic Hello World input field. So this one here shows you just the message Hello World. So it doesn't save anything, but it shows you how the whole thing is built. So technically speaking, here's a source code. And the very cool thing is all you have to do is you have to put a JavaScript file into a folder with a predefined name. So basically your app folder, you'll create a folder system. That's where you put all the extensions into an app. And then you create a folder that's called field, the type name. In this case, it's empty because it doesn't save anything. And then whatever you want to call your field. That's the convention. And then an index.js. If you have that file, you immediately have that input type available in your dialogues and everything to configure. So basically, you can now see this is a web component. Now, if you've never worked with web components before, you'll see some links later on in the docs, but basically it's a very standard JavaScript method. It's been available for a few years now to create your own tags. So basically all this does is it has a constructor where we're not doing anything except for just logging something in this example. Then there's a connected callback, which is the browser will actually kick this the moment your component appears on the screen. And a disconnected. In this case, it's also not very useful. And then we have to tell the custom elements in the browser that this is a web component. That's all. And the moment you do this, if you follow the conventions, which means it's stored in this folder, in this file, and it has a tag name which matches that convention, it will immediately be available in your form for use, like you see here. So that was the most basic example. Let's look at a more sophisticated version, the color picker you just saw before. So this color picker needs to do a little more. First of all, it also needs to load and save data, and we'll configure it. What we're using here is just another JavaScript library. In this case, it's called Picker. And you can see here are different implementations of it. These two are the same. This one has a default value in the form. And the same thing applies here. We have a tag name. This file, by the way, is also stored in the correct location. Then there's some code here to load the JavaScript library from the CDN. This is actually all the HTML we have, which is just loading the style sheet and showing the picker. There's the connected callback where we're setting this HTML. Then we're telling Too Sexy to actually load this JavaScript. This is more just an extra step to make sure it's not loaded multiple times, because Too Sexy will just check if this variable already exists, and if not, we'll load this file here, and then we'll do a callback to say, hey, it's ready, now you can do your stuff. And the rest of this is just picker code. So like here, we're creating the picker. We're using something called the connector. That's an object which connects our form to this custom input field, to then get the currently selected value, like the last one, if we're editing and not creating a new one. And then we're just setting swatches and configurations just like this thing would want. So this is more picker specific, but again, you could do anything of your own stuff in here. And there's some updating and the swatches, and of course the most important bit, registering this element. Just go through the tutorial, look at this. I'm sure you'll get it once you've read it once or twice. A minor detail, we always try to use ifs, so like immediately executed functions, just to make sure these variables don't appear on the window.tagName, for example. So that's just a minor thing. We recommend you do it too, but it's not required. So that's how this one works. And as you just saw, this one just is the same color picker 3 times. This one just has a default value in the field configuration, which is why it appears with a color. Now, let's look at an even more complex example, one that is configurable. In this case here, we have a color picker. It looks similar to the first one, but in here, you can see this one has no presets, so there's no colors to pick here. And this one has the 2 SIG colors predefined. Let me just quickly log on to show, because this is all publicly available. So of course I cannot show the configuration dialog. But let me just log on quickly and show what that means. Because basically, let me go back to the page. We're on this page here. And this field here is configurable. And let me just show what the admin would see. It's configurable because this is the Color Picker Pro here. We have 2 fields, and in here, the picker with 2 SIG presets, you'll see I have a field where I defined all our colors that you're seeing there. Now, to make this possible, there's an extra piece of magic that's necessary, and that is that, let me just quickly go back here. In addition to the JavaScript field we have here, to the JavaScript file, we have another file which contains the schema, like the information, what fields we want to configure, and what text should be shown there. And this is in the form of a JSON file, which is also placed in a predefined location. So basically it's a subfolder of our component, and then it's in .data.content types, and it's a JSON file that you can export in the admin UI. You'll see more instructions for that in our checklists and everything, but basically if you just put the right file there, 2Sexy will automatically pick it up and make sure that you can also configure your custom input field. And that makes everything super easy to redistribute, because once you have one of these working, you can just copy that whole folder with the JavaScript and the configuration into another app, and bam, it'll just be there. So that's pretty cool. So let's see where we just stopped. The next example I'd like to show you is, so I'm still logged on here. Let me quickly log off. Just so you see it the way you would see it when you visit this. Let's go back to customize the edit experience, and let's look at a WYSIWYG example. So the WYSIWYG example here is just a very simple WYSIWYG, which just has 4 buttons. Now, for the WYSIWYG, we realize that it's much too difficult for most people to create one from scratch, because there's just so much you could do. There's the drag and drop file uploading, there's the script injection protection, there's all this kind of stuff. There's cases where you want it to just show a preview and show a dialogue, and we're pretty certain that this would be too difficult for most people. So what we did here is, let's say the entry point is the same. It's this folder here with a JavaScript file, but basically we're just telling the system to first load the standard WYSIWYG, just like before with the load script. And once it's done that, it's going to do a callback. And in here, we just configure it. We say, this is what we want. This is the WYSIWYG. We want to edit it. We're going to have to forward the connector so that the WYSIWYG still works. And then we're giving it an object that just does reconfiguration. So actually, you're getting the full WYSIWYG just as it was before, but you can say, do I want extra buttons? Do I want to have a different toolbar, etc.? And this is all just done in the normal TinyMCE way. The only thing you need to know is that there are certain events which get called back that you can then provide other configurations for. So like here you get the configure options, and here we're saying, well, everything's been prepared, but we want a different toolbar. And just doing this little bit here will make the WYSIWYG just have these 4 buttons that you see here. There's another more sophisticated example, just for people who are trying to work this out. In this one here, we're creating a new button. So this is extending the previous toolbar, just adding a new button here. It has a multi-language tooltip, and when you click it, it just does an alert. But this is all really easy to do, and thanks to the tutorials and documentations and examples, I'm sure you can just get started. So let's assume you wanted to use this one here in your app. What would you do? Basically, just create this folder and copy this file into your app. Or of course, you can just download the tutorial app and start messing with that to get started. What we also have, of course, is we've created a lot of documentation for this for you. So this is what it looks like. Just check out this link here that you see right now, the custom field short link. This will bring you here. And from here, you'll find all the links to the tutorials, demos, and additional specs and documentations to get started. So this is Daniel Mettler from Too Sick Internet Solutions for Too Sexy. Again, please don't forget to, don't panic. We hope you love it. When you create your own custom input fields, please, please, please share them on GitHub or wherever and send me a link. I'll put it into the docs so that anybody can use it, and that way the community can help each other. Thank you, Daniel Mettler. Have an awesome day. Don't panic.